I'm glad you mentioned the rotation because I want to take you back about a month. It was the end of one of the episodes of Baseball is Dead. You sent Mariners Twitter into a little bit of a frenzy.
Yeah.
You asked Dallas, where do you think Blake Snell might sign? Dallas says, well, I want to say Seattle, but I don't know if they're really going to make the push. So you respond and say, oh, they are. Like, they're ready to make the push.
Yeah.
Joey asks you, well, okay, who do you think he's signing with? And you go, the Mariners. So my question to you is, a month later, do you still feel that way? And if the answer is yes, for what you feel comfortable sharing, like what makes you so confident?
So I'll say this. I have a friend of a friend. Like, I know someone in the Snell circle that made it seem like it was the Yankees and the Mariners. So that's what made me say, and knowing that publicly he had rejected the Yankees offer, that's why I was like, okay, so then process of elimination here, it must just be the Mariners. Like, they must just be figuring out X's and O's here. But that's the last update that I got, because I still get Mariners fans reaching out being like, is there anything new on the Mariners situation? Like, I had one conversation, shared kind of like what I knew from that, and then there was never an update. There was never a follow-up. It never went anywhere. So I don't know that it's dead. But it clearly didn't progress if we're now probably more than a month later and it hasn't happened yet. But it was interesting to me that it sounded like it was down to those two teams. And then not long after that was when I think it was either Heyman or like Mark Feinzen reported that the Yankees were the only team to offer. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. Like, I feel like Seattle was at least in the mix. But who knows? Maybe, like, because I've said that, not necessarily with the Snell situation, but with like other guys, that it gets reported that they only have one offer. And you're like, there's no way that they only have one offer. Maybe only one serious offer, like only one offer worth considering. But there's no way that, like, some of these guys out here have zero or only one offer. Like Blake Snell saying that he has one. I mean, he didn't say it, but like the report that he only has one offer. I find that very hard to believe. I find that there's got to be multiple other teams that maybe floated some sort of offer or number or framework for a deal, and that Boris was like, you're not even in the same ballpark. You're not even close. So it's like, all right, maybe it's discarded as not a real offer. But that's kind of where I kind of like loop back in Seattle. It's like, all right, well, maybe they floated some years and a dollar figure that Scott Boras just scoffed at. But I find it very hard to believe that there was no communication, that there was no sort of like, hey, like, what will it take to get this done? Is this number, is this year amount, is this somewhere in the region that he would say yes to? Is this something that is at a good starting point? But like, as far as like, is the source credible? The source is credible. So, but yeah, that was basically all it was that the Mariners and the Yankees were in the picture. No other team was mentioned. And then we heard from whoever that the Yankees offer was rejected. So I was like, okay, process of elimination here. Must be Seattle.
So everything we've seen from the Mariners side of things, that they, from the people reporting on this side, that they haven't offered anything, and that there hasn't even been much communication, period, between the two parties. But I'm going to paint this in a more positive way for you, Jared. I think the way the market is going, the Red Sox might be on Blake Snell here soon.
Well, he costs money. So yeah, he's not gonna work for free as far as I know. So I don't think he's a fit here in Boston. The Orioles. So I think like that's where Boris is right now. So whatever we talked about on the podcast in regards to Snell and Seattle, the landscape has now changed, because now spring training has started. Games will be starting in a week. So instead of kind of using the off season as a way to kind of like leverage players or teams or whatever, it's like, all right, or more so leverage the players. you want a job before spring training starts. You want to know where you're reporting to, so we have leverage over you. Well, now you have the Kyle Bradish injury in Baltimore. As the games start, like, I know he's not a starting pitcher, but like Kenley Jansen just had the lat injury. Like, pitchers are going to start to get injured, which kind of flips the table here. Now, if there's a team that has a starter, it's like, hey, we kind of like went all in on this season. We're trying to win this year, and one of our top guys just went down, and say he's going to miss 4 months. Well, guess what? Now we're in the Blake Snell sweepstakes, when we weren't before. So I think the way that it was described to me a month and a half ago about it being New York and Seattle, you kind of just go back to the drawing board now, because the landscape is about to change as the games are about to start.
Yeah, so I will say, like, the reason I think this hasn't gotten done is it's all on the Mariners' side. Like, you might remember this, maybe not, but Blake Snell during Thursday night or Sunday Night Football during Thanksgiving, he or somebody in his camp must have said something to the NBC crew, because he raised the 12th man flag during that Seahawks 49ers game. And Mike Tirico says, Blake Snell, a Seattle native, he's a free agent. He wants to pitch for the Mariners. And we like sit up. We're like, what did he just say? He's like, you just put that on national TV for the whole world to hear. So it's been made very clear that Blake Snell, who, as you know, is a Seattle native, like, he wants to play there about as much as I've ever seen any free agent want to play there. I think it's a Mariners thing. They don't want to fork up the money, or they're worried about the walks. It's something, but I think it's kind of one-sided for why it hasn't gotten done.
Yeah, I think it could be Robbie Ray syndrome, where it's like, all right, we just, we already did that. We had a guy coming off of Cy Young. We gave him a bunch of money, and then he just wasn't that guy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, when you get burned like that, maybe you're reluctant to just jump right back into it and do it all over again. Like the Red Sox, I mean, it's the same thing. Like right now, it couldn't be a more egregiously perfect fit. Jordan Montgomery. Like we need, like, it's all right-handers in the rotation. There's no lefty. You need an innings guy. You're like, I know that they get a lot of flack. They don't suck. Like the Red Sox aren't going to suck, but they're going to be very mediocre. Adding a Jordan Montgomery, it's like, all right, that could swing 5 wins from what you would have had before. Now you could be an 85-win team that maybe sneaks in, or maybe you're good enough at the deadline to maybe you add at the deadline and that guy puts you over the top. In kind of what you're saying about Snell, it's like he's from here. He's clearly his preference is to pitch in Seattle. And Jordan Montgomery is like, my wife works here. I live here. I've been working out here. I've been begging you to sign me all winter. And the Red Sox are just like, yeah, that's nice. That's nice. And it's not like they have a plan B. They're just like, yeah, no, we don't care. That's nice.